Hello everybody, Katie here with Unfold, and welcome to this 10-minute tune-up Posture RX. Today we're going to review three things. The first thing is the three key segments of the spine. The second is the curves within the spine. And then the third thing that we're going to review are some really common posture pitfalls that you might find yourself slumping into habitually, and how to combat them. So first, let's talk about the different segments of the spine. We've got the base of the spine, the lower back, which is called the lumbar spine. The lumbar spine connects to the pelvis. Really common to have lower back pain. 80% of people in the States experience it at some point or another. So it's definitely in your best interest to be mindful of how your lower back feels and how it moves. The second part of your spine is the mid-back or the thoracic spine. The thoracic spine attaches to your rib cage. Most people we find that sit a lot, which is certainly people who work in offices or if you're driving a lot, tend to slunch forward and we get a little bit of rounding in that upper back. Okay, so the mid and upper back is called your thoracic spine. And then the last section of the spine is your neck, which is your cervical spine, which attaches to your skull. Your head is really heavy, and we tend to have things like tech neck discomfort, shoulder tightness, and all of that can be remedied by simply bringing more attention to where your head is in space. All right, so we've got the three sections of the spine: the lower back, middle back, and neck: lumbar spine, thoracic spine, cervical spine. Next, I want you to understand the curves of the spine. So your spine has two main curves for the sake of our discussion. We've got what's called a Lordotic curve, and then we've got what's called a Kyphotic curve. A Lordotic curve is the type of curve that you see in your lumbar spine as well as your neck. The curve moves in, from the back in, towards the center of the body. So that's what a Lordotic curve is. The same thing happens in our lower back. We've got this inward curve. If you see too much of a Lordotic curve, it's called lordosis. The second curve that you have in your spine is called a Kyphotic curve. That's the opposite. That's what we see in the upper back. So if you've got too much of a Kyphotic curve in your thoracic spine, it's called kyphosis. These curves in the spine are necessary to have the structure be really buoyant and allows us to move and breathe. It's really amazing. However, what can happen is these curves can tend to be flattened over time or overemphasized over time. And this is where we tend to get postural discomforts like a head forward position, like tech neck, or a rounded shoulder position to create that kyphotic posture that we see really very often in people who sit a lot. Or we start to unintentionally take the inward Lordotic curve out of our lower back by slouching. So it's important to be able to understand that the curves are good. We want them to be there, but we don't want them to be exploited or weakened or overstretched in any way. So next we're going to move through three really simple yoga poses that you can do right at your desk to create balance in each section of the spine and for each type of curve within your back. All right, I'm going to move my chair back a little bit so we can get started and you can follow along right at your desk. All right. So I'm going to turn to my side so that you're able to really see my spine, how it's moving. Come to the edge of your seat here, and we're going to start by exploring the lumbar spine, this lordotic, this inward curve of your lumbar spine, your lower back. And a really great way to do that is through what's called a pelvic tilt. So we're going to do a pelvic tilt first so that you can feel the lower back move, and then I'm going to show you a pose that we call standing camel that really helps to bring that curve back into the lower back. So begin by bringing your hands right onto your pelvis. And what I want you to do is kind of slouch back into your chair. And you can see the curve in my lower back is taken out a little bit. This puts unnecessary pressure on the discs, on the connective tissue, and on the structures of that lordotic curve. So we want to work on increasing that lordotic curve, most of us. So that means taking your pelvis and tipping it more forward so that you're sitting nice and tall on your sit bones, and you can bring your hand right into that lower back curve to kind of feel that inward lordotic curve of your lumbar spine. So just do that a couple more times. Rock the pelvis backwards, rock the pelvis forward. Another way to think about it is like you're sort of tipping a bowl backwards in space or tipping a bowl forwards in space. And you want to find a spot right in between. So not rocking all the way back, not rocking all the way forward, right in the center. Bring the hand right back into your lower back and just see if you can sense that subtle inward curve. The lower back moves in and up, not out and down, in and up. Okay. So this is how we want to be sitting just in a normal, regular posture. If you're somebody who has a hard time feeling that inward lordotic curve of your lumbar spine, try this pose. Come on up to stand. You're going to bring your hands right into the small of your back like you do in our seated camel. And you're just very gently going to push the hips forward, lift the chest up, and come on back to center. And you can do this maybe 8 to 10 times dynamically. And what we're doing, we're moving the spine into extension, the lumbar spine into extension. We're also moving the hip into extension. Remember, the lumbar spine is connected to the pelvis. And this is a really nice way to create balance by increasing the lumbar curve, opening up the front of the hips, which is a lovely way to combat some of those postural discomforts that happen as a result of sitting too much. Okay, so that's the lumbar spine. We're going to move up the chain now to the thoracic spine. One of the biggest problems that we see is this kyphotic curve, this natural outward kyphotic curve becomes exaggerated. So a really great yoga pose that we can do is called cow pose. You're going to bring your hands right behind your head, roll the shoulders back, lift the chest up, and you can see we're creating, again, some extension in the spine, extension in the upper back, the thoracic spine. We're also getting into the neck and the low back as well, but just really focus on that upper back. Feel the lift, keep a couple of breaths. You want to feel this kind of right between the shoulder blades, that mid upper back. Take 2 more breaths here. And then come on back to center and release. And then just notice, you might feel like your chest is a little bit more lifted. We still have a slight kyphotic curve in the upper back. We want that to be there, but it's no longer exaggerated. All right, nice and tall. Last but not least, let's move into the neck. Our neck, our cervical spine, has a lordotic curve. It moves in, and what we see a lot happening is the head juts forward into a tech neck position. We've got a great 10-minute tune-up on tech neck, so give that a review. So a really simple thing that we can do is to be more mindful of where our head is in space, and we call this a chin nod. I'm going to move my chair closer to you so you can see. You're going to take your fingertips right at the chin and just kind of pretend like your head is jutting forward, the way that is really common that we see when you're typing or working at a computer. Take your fingertips right to the chin and just very gently draw the jawline back. And what that does is it creates a little bit of a lift in the spine. It positions the skull more optimally on top of the cervical spine. And let's do it again. Bring the head forward, push that chin back. Do that one more time. Jut the head forward, push that chin back. We're going to pause here, take your hands behind your head, and we're going to come back into cow pose. But this time, focus more on your neck, moving the neck into extension, getting that lordotic curve back into your cervical spine. Really lift your chin, stretch the muscles in the front of the neck. Good. And then come on back to center and release. So just take a moment here, sit tall, close your eyes, and observe the way that you're feeling right now. Observe your posture. Sense your lumbar spine, that inward lordotic curve. Sense your thoracic spine, the mid and upper back, that gentle outward kyphotic curve. And then bring your attention back up to your neck, the cervical spine, again, that inward curve of the neck. and sense your pelvis, your rib cage, and your skull stacked right on top of each other. The connecting points between those three different sections of your spine we reviewed today. Take a few more deep breaths here. Feeling tall, creating not only a physical posture in your body, but also a mindset of good posture, holding your head high, open chest, proud, but easeful and relaxed. Good. And open up your eyes. Wonderful. There's so much more to learn about posture and how the spine works. I wrote a blog post for you all about it that goes into a little bit more detail of each of these sections of the spine, the curves of the spine, how they move, a few more yoga poses that you can do to find more balance, as well as some information on the discs, the ligaments, the tendons, the connective tissue around your spine, and a few links to some free classes to a sequence that we call our happy spine sequence that really brings even more balance and strength and stability into the spine as a whole. All right, have a great rest of your day. Sit tall. I hope you enjoyed today's class, and we'll see you soon.